you might not come out of this building.
Yeah, of course. And we met, and it was FSB agents.
The first call was from BBC.
They already rented a sauna and a prostitutes. Somebody leaking information for Russians.
I think some people might wonder why two Ukrainians speaking not perfect English just think about making a podcast about Ukraine. What would you answer these people?
There is a big part of life in Ukraine is that you can't see in the news. You will see frontline reports. You will see how civilians living in the front line. But Ukraine is the biggest country in Europe. There is a lot of things happening in Ukraine. There is a lot of what we can tell for international audience that you will not see on the news, especially now when there's not a lot of journalists here in Ukraine.
So we are now almost 2 years since the war started, and you have been covering the war not since February 22, but much before that, since the war started in 2013. How did you come through all this time, and how did you start covering the war, and what have you been gone through all this period?
I used to be a sport journalist living in Lviv, living my best life. And then the revolution happened, and I decided if I want to do journalism, I have to move to Kiev. And then I started covering the revolution, and I was basically living on Maidan Square. When I was a student, I always dreamed to become a war journalist, but you need to be careful with your dreams, and the war came into my country, and I just decided to take this path for myself. Yeah, I'm covering war for 10 years, but it's interesting because I have a unique experience working in occupied Crimea. I counted it for covering a war because basically I was in a territory of an enemy, working undercover as a journalist, doing documentaries, doing TV projects for Radio Liberty, and I will count it as an experience as a war correspondent because it was, I believe it was the most dangerous part of my career, when every day you are living with the fear that you will be caught. Somebody will catch you, somebody will imprison you.
This is just, I can't even hear it. I can imagine how was it then when you were on the territory occupied by Russian troops, and everywhere there were enemies, and how did you feel working there, not as a journalist, but covering your identity? So how did this idea at all come up to your mind?
Yeah, okay. So after first Minsk agreement, when the war basically stopped, I mean, the war didn't stop, but the front line wasn't moving at all. I decided to have a little break, but after 3 months I understood that I want to come back because journalism is my thing to do. So at that moment there was a vacancy in Radio Liberty. They were searching the editor for the TV project Crimea Reality, and I applied. And on our interview, I understood that they are trying to find somebody who will be able to go there and to make filming for them. I said, why not? Yeah, of course I can do that. After first year, Russia annexed Crimea. There was literally a border with the Ukrainian border guards, with the Russian border guards, and proper border, and you're going through Ukrainian side, then Russian side. So only 3 people from Radio Liberty knew that I am employee of Radio Liberty, that I'm a journalist of Radio Liberty. It was, they were afraid that there is somebody leaking information for Russians from the inside office. So I created a legend. I created a YouTube channel that I'm a blogger. I even made a few videos for this channel. Yeah, and the first time I went there, there was a lot of people going out and in, so everything was okay. I filmed first stories just about the touristic season, everything like super light topics. So what the prices are in Crimea, and everything, how lives is changing over there. And from that moment, so it was like I was going there, living there for 3 weeks, and I going out. And I believe I've made for 4 years, more than 30 trips like that.
30 trips to the occupied territory.
Yeah, exactly.
And when did you cross the border? Were you every time afraid that the Russians might know who you are and they might got you?
I've never had the fear when I'm going in, but I always have a fear when I'm going out. And unfortunately, you can't do this work forever. At some point, I knew that at some point they will understand who I am, and that's what's happened in first time in 2017. So the story was the Russians put some air defense system in village near Kerch, and the locals told that they are waiting for tourists, and all of this militarization of Crimea are not helping them having a tourist, because no one wants to be on the beach with the air defense systems. Yeah. So I went to this village, just spoke with a few locals, didn't get much, and I was coming back, and one guy called me and say, listen, I knew that you were in the village. I want to tell you a lot about these things. Can we meet? I said, yeah, of course. And we met, and it was FSB agents who said, get on the car. I told them, I'm sorry, I will not. If you want to arrest me, you can, but we can walk to your office. And they agreed. So at that
why were you afraid to sit on the car?
Because, at that moment I was afraid that they will put me in the car, drive in the wood, and that's it. And my story will be the end of my story, I just want people to see me with them. And at that moment, my phone was in my pocket when we were walking. And I messaged to my editor a few words like, I caught by FSB, do not text me. And then we came to the office. They were very polite, trying to be my friends. Some of them, they were playing bad cops, good cops, all of this shit. We were going to smoking room to smoke. All of them weren't local. All of them were from Russia, coming to work in Crimea. So they didn't even understand they didn't even understand the distances in Crimea, where is Sevastopol, they're completely new guys. And I was sitting there for 8 hours and was questioned by, I don't know, maybe 5-6 different agents.
Did you have a thought in your mind that you might not come out of this building?
Yeah, of course. I saw different stuff. So at that moment, FSB already took my phone. I don't want any trouble, so I unlocked it. And on a third or fourth hour, one of the agents came and said to me, like, Artem, you have a brother? I said, yeah, I have a brother. I don't want to lie. Show them my social media. They said, oh, okay. And what about your sister? I said, I don't have a sister. He said, oh, because your sister just typing that she is your sister, and she's asking, how are you? At that moment, I understood that it was the first lie that they caught me in, and I put from a secret pocket, take my press card from Radio Liberty, showed them and said, I'm a journalist from...
So you had a secret pocket?
Yeah, I had a secret pocket where my press card was. So they discovered that I'm a public journalist. They found my reports. They were searching my social media, like a lot of MPs.
Your true identity.
They found. Yeah, I showed them basically. I showed them. Even I typed my passwords because I didn't want to go on a confrontation, you know. And I just before that, every time when I go in Crimea, I always clean all my social media, clean my posts from, for example, from the revolution on Maidan. I clean every messages, all chats, working chats, private chats. So I almost empty. There's like just if I see that it's just a chat with a friend about nothing, then I leave it. Because if you are too clean, if your chats are too clean, it also can be suspicious. So they filmed me. I was telling everything they wanted. I'm earning like millions, blah, 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 blah.
Did you make it like in a one shot, or versus, so they started filming and they told you before what to tell, or they were taking like several shots of that, or how did it
I know.
happen?
So they boss, he was filming me with one shot on the phone like this, and I was just telling whatever they didn't stop. Before that they told me like, you have to say this. I said, okay, I will tell whatever you will say. And I was lucky because it was the 23rd of February, and it's like a day of Russian defender, and they were preparing. I heard they talkings, and they were prepared to celebrate it. They already rented a sauna and a prostitutes. So, and I ruined all of their plans, and they just wanted me to leave. So so it ends at 4 in the morning. I took a taxi from Kherson, a long ride to the border, and and I came back to Ukraine. And what do you think? In a half a year, I came back to Crimea again.
I can't believe this. And after interrogating you for 8 hours, why do you think they decided to let you go? Is it because they were afraid that you are a journalist and like this information will go public, and you know they will have a international attention to what they do, or why? What was the reason? Just not to, you know, bury you somewhere in the forests near Sevastopol.
I was thinking a lot about this. Why? I think so. Let's imagine there are a new boss, a new people over there, and they're the first time when they have this situation, and to make a right decision, they need to call to their bosses in Moscow.
And they are already preparing for
they were,
23rd of February.
Yeah, and they understand that it will be a lot of work with me. They don't know what to do. They need to fill all reports and everything, do all of their bureaucracy part of this arrest or whatever. Anyway, and there was like people who saw. It was evening, but there was a lot of people who saw us while we were walking.
So they saw you entering the FSB building.
Yeah, and when I entered, there was also a guy like on the reception. Every time anyone enter this office, he have to write down in his journal the names and everything. And when he saw like Ukrainian passport, he said, "Oh my God, it's Ukrainian here in FSB. I need to make a call." You know?
Really?
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, and they don't want these troubles in their like new positions, new places. They have like proper this Russian accents. So I'm like definitely sure they were Russians. It's not like Ukrainian collaborators.
Well, after you worked undercover for all this time in Crimea, and you know how Russian FSB works and what they are up to, are you like, did you get more suspicious to people around you? Because now when the war started, you never know who is working for whom, who has some like specific task here. So does it make you more suspicious to people with whom you communicate, or it's the same as it was before the war started?
You know, the thing is, just because when the war started, I was young, and I was going through this for 10 years, and all of this experience just changed me. Just because of this experience with Crimea, I can't talk about it with my friends, with my family, with anyone.
So no one knew that you were working in
my best
Crimea.
friend knew that, and some of my colleagues knew that. and I can't talk about it publicly, and I can't talk it in my private conversations. And people asking me, where do you work? And I always saying that, oh, I have a vacation now. I have like, you know, this pause of my career, which were like for 4 years.
Wow.
My mother was thinking that I'm working in Poland, and I was going to Poland
No
all
way.
the time. Yeah.
So you told your mother that you go to Poland and you went to Crimea.
Exactly.
Instead.
Yeah, and to finish this story, so I took this break for half a year, just working in an office, and I decided, fuck it, I will come back.
Oh, why? Oh, like
I mean, it was so boring to work just from office, interviewing people with the phones, and I thought to myself that, okay, if they like let me go, maybe they will do that one more time. And it was true and not true, just because I went there and they start following me. I had no idea that they are following me, but they were filming me whatever I was. But I've made new rules for myself. I'm going there and I'm not filming any military vehicle, any military person, nothing. Just the people, their problems, and everything.
were you filming with like regular camera or your phone?
I have this touristic camera with me, and like I believe at that time I have iPhone 7. It was just released, and yeah, but I was working with just a simple.
So you
camera.
were pretending.
I'm a stupid tourist. I have the outfit of a stupid tourist, you know, with the hat and yeah, going and talking with people, and all this time they were following me. So after a year of this second attempt,
so you spent another year.
I spent. I will tell you now. Yeah, I've spent another year. So the thing was like that. I bought a SIM card like in the black market, you know, and I don't know how, but they already had this number, and the FSB immigration service called me and say, Artem, you have to be at I don't know the dates, but like you have to be at that date, at that day, at that time in our office. And I understood that they definitely know about me, everything they need. So I called the most public Crimean Tatarian lawyer. At that
so he was in Crimea.
Yeah, he was always working with Crimea, and because like Russia arrested a lot of Crimean Tatars in Crimea, and they are suffering there, and there is just a few of those lawyers who are trying to help them, and they agreed to help me. So we went there, and it was a migration service of FSB, but inside there was a proper FSB agent sitting there waiting for me. And the lawyer told me, we had this conversation, lawyer told me what to say, what not to say. And at that moment, we understood that if I didn't have a lawyer, they would arrest me there. So they showed me a CD and said, like, we have video with you. Just a week ago, we filmed it. You were interviewing some person on a beach without having accreditation. So we broke our law. And they showed me a video, and I recognized myself. It was a video from a year ago. I was filming somebody on a beach, and I knew that it was in a Saki city, and they said it was in Sevastopol. And I just asked them, can you just turn on properties and see when it was filmed? And he turned on, it was a year ago. And he said, okay, we will took out of our case, but there will be a trial tomorrow.
Wow, so they were filming you for the whole year.
Yeah, they were following me and filming me for a year. And it's interesting. I was trying to have an advice from a lawyer, and I said, what should I do? He said, I'm giving you 50% chances that they might not give the information to the border guards. 50%. So it's you to decide. I can't tell you. Should you just wait for a trial, or should you just trying to leave? I said to myself, okay, I'm going to will try to leave. So I went to the border, give my passport, and they were holding me for 40 minutes. 40 minutes, I didn't know what's... It was like... This was pretty scary 40 minutes for me. And I was waiting until they said, Artem, Lysak, you're free to go. And I just went out and never came back.
So when they said that there will be a trial, did they explain what are you accused of, or what kind of trial?
Yeah. So when any Ukrainian citizen is coming into Crimea, you have this migration card, and there is like you have to write down what the purpose of your visit. And I just wrote down in private, but in their opinion, I have to write down this is. I came here for business, for work. They said, is the first law that you broke. The second law you broke, you were doing journalism here. And my lawyer then said that what they wanted to do is, first, they will do this trial. They will arrest you for 15 days. And then they will start the criminal case against you. It definitely, because from his own sources, he knew that they want to escort me to Krasnodar region of Russia, so out from peninsula, like further inside the Russia. So it was I don't know. This is a thing. I don't know why they leave me alone and allow me to go out. This is a question for me. But just in a half and a year, they arrested another. So the Crimea, I quit from Crimea Reality, and they have a new freelancer, but at this time local one. And he was arrested, like Russians put in his pocket grenades or something like that, and now he's still in the prison. So I was very lucky.
So you basically, by miracle, escaped the Russian prison, right? Because then no one will know how to get you out.
Yeah, exactly. It was. Let's say it was a miracle, or somebody over there looking after me.
After such an experience, many people will just not continue doing journalism, and you still do. You still cover the war. You still go to the places where there is an specific danger to your life. Why do you continue doing this?
What I understand, that because at some point after all of this experience, I said I was thinking that let's take a break, just a break. I moved to Sweden, living for some time there, and I understood that this is definitely not life I want to. And when I will talk for myself, so I used to it, and I just want to continue. I just want to feel. I just want to speak with a lot of people. I just want to go through their experience. And that's why I came back to Ukraine, and 3 months before war started, and then Sky News called me and asked if I want to work with them to help them cover the war here in Ukraine, and I agreed. And the first day of war, I went to Mariupol. I've told you a lot about my experience, but I've never heard about yours. I heard, but it's everything for you guys. Tell us more about your experience before war.
Well, it's completely different from yours. I had nothing to do with journalism at all. I was studying international law. And but then I shifted more to international politics because I was much more interested in that, and was researching Russian disinformation since 2014, because I'm from Kharkiv, and I saw specifically what Russian disinformation causes, because we saw, and actually that's interesting because not many people know that what happened in Luhansk and Donetsk, the same thing could have happened to Kharkiv. We had all the same people from Belgorod mimicking Ukrainians on the main square in Kharkiv, trying to get the power. We have seen Russian flag on the main building of Kharkiv administration, which now stays in ruins after the Russian missile. So I started to research Russian disinformation to understand the mechanisms, how Russia uses it, and how Ukraine can counteract. And I was doing pretty much of the job of everyone working in the think tanks does. So it were different kind of trainings, writing analytical and research papers. Everything changed for me when Russia invaded. My alarm was for 5 a.m. because I had to wake up early. And I woke up, and at the same time I started hearing the sounds of explosions, and then I started seeing the news, and at the same time received the first call was from BBC, and they were asking me if I'm in Kharkiv and what I'm seeing and what is the situation on the ground. And the first day after that, the calls started to come from everyone, and back then I was not aware of who are reliable international media, who are not, because I didn't have much experience with media, with international media at all. So I was talking to everyone. I had a planner, planned for every 15 minutes with with interviews or comments to all these radios, broadcasts, and TV stations. And that at the same time, I was monitoring what is happening around, and there were very different reports. Then I decided that, I can't leave just right now. It's my city. I want to stay. I don't have an immediate danger to my life, and I might stay some time longer, probably for 1 or 2 days, just to see how the situation develops, and then leave when it will be necessary. I felt that urge inside that I have to stay and to cover and to tell what is happening on the ground, because I've got millions of messages with the request about the situation in the city.
And I remember it was a time when your Twitter blown up, or it's happened before?
Yes, it was about that time. I remember when I actually why I started to make videos for Twitter, because there were lots of videos that people were making, but all of them were from very unverified sources, very short. You never knew what is on the video, if it's from this day or from some other day or from what location exactly. And I was thinking to myself, why people won't make normal video, go tell what's the date, what are they filming, so that others will understand better. There was an immediate threat of Russians capturing the city, and all international media received an order to leave. So international media left, local media left, and everyone who stayed in the city and who spoke English became self-made journalists, so to say.
Yeah, that's how we met, basically, because we came with the Sky News and decided to make a story about you who are going through Kharkiv and filming a lot of things. Yeah, just we'll put the link in the description. You can watch it.
Yes, and that's how it all started. So I started to make these videos, explaining people what is happening, what's happening on the ground, to inform, and also that was the way, and still is the way, to fight with Russian disinformation. You are fighting with disinformation when you tell the truth. Tell and show. And that's how I stayed, and then I was so much involved into the coverage of the war, coverage and revealing war crimes committed by Russian troops. And then I started to communicate with many international journalists, with you, with your team as well, with Sky News team. Then I decided that this is what I would like to do now. Because back then, working as an analyst and as an expert, I had no possibility because I was all the time so much involved into every minute coverage of the war situation that sitting on the analytical paper for a week and working on that was something that I wasn't able to do anymore. And that's how I started to work in this sphere. And then later on, I joined the professional association, received this journalist accreditation, which allowed me later to go to other places and professionally work on that, on writing and filming about the war. And this is still what I have an urge to do, and this is why we're actually doing this podcast, because both of us feel that this is very important to continue telling the stories of Ukrainians who are still there fighting, doing their everyday lives near the front lines, resilient, strong Ukrainians, but who are unseen because they are behind the headlines and their stories are not on the news. And this is why it's important to talk about them, to become their voice, right? When you come somewhere and you talk to people, very often they will tell you, please show this. They will take your hand, go with you in their house destroyed by Russian missile, and they will film this, that, and show to the world what Russia is doing.
Yeah, and that's when we reach the point when we will tell why we are here and why we are doing this podcast. So our main goal is to give a deeper understanding for people outside of Ukraine what is happening here. Just a few days ago, I was working with the Sky News team, and they told me, a journalist said that my son asked me why I'm coming back to Ukraine. Does Russia attack again? And it was the same experience that our producer have. So her father asked her, why are you coming back to Ukraine? Is something going on there, or Russia attacked again? So it's really hard to understand Ukraine just watching frontline stories, just reading about war itself. So our main goal of this podcast is just to explain. And we're also waiting from people just write in the comments what do you want to know about Ukraine, and we are happy to give you this understanding, the history and nowadays of this country.
You are covering this war for 10 years. I was researching Russian disinformation and started covering and revealing Russian war crimes since this large-scale invasion happened for 2 years. And we are all the time living here, speaking to people, going to the front lines, seeing the situation from inside. And I think this unique experience, it needs to be transferred, and we need to talk about this, and we need to show what is happening so that people will understand better what the reality is. Because of course, when you sit somewhere in a think tank in London or in Washington and you read a lot of analytical papers and you have a very good bird view on the situation, but you lack these details, you lack the understanding what is happening in reality.
For 2 years of working with international media, for myself, I understood that the main goals which I reached, the main thing I've did is that I've gave to the journalists the correct and the right context of everything is what is happening. I mean, there is a lot of situation when you have to give them a context of what is happening. For example, like let us say when the dam in Kherson region collapsed, and the journalists have to do a report the very same day, and he have never heard about this dam. What is happening? Who's there? Who's controlling this dam? You need to provide not all in background, but you need to provide the correct context of everything that is happening there.
So, and when there are much less international journalists, international teams now working in Ukraine, how do you think this affects the coverage, and this affects the public opinion of people in the West? What do you hear from your friends or colleagues? What do they say?
I mean, it's not even about my friends or colleagues. We can see there is a lot of service in US, and we see how less and less people are supporting military help from the US. Yeah, of course, it's an election year in US, and we understand the one part is trying to play on this topic with their own goals. But anyway, they're just forgetting. They have their own stuff to do. They have their own country. They have their own problems. It's understandable.
Well, but then if I, for example, write something on Twitter about that the support is getting lower and that the attention must be paid to Ukraine, I receive still many comments, lots of comments from people saying that we still support with you, we're still watching, we are still with Ukraine. So there is still a big group of supporters who are all the time standing with Ukraine. But of course, I agree with you that lots of people they pay much more attention to their everyday life. It's normal. They pay much more attention to their politics inside and to the like economy and everything else. And this is where this windows opens for Russia to manipulate this, because they understand it pretty well and they know that time is playing on the side of Russia, because the more time goes, the attention is moving from Ukraine towards some other topics, and this is where Russia sees the possibility to manipulate on this public opinion and to put Russian narratives whenever they want. And I think this year is very important because there are elections in many countries, and Russia will for sure try to use it to change the attitudes and to change, like to play this in Russia's favor, to use this situation. And this is why it's even much more important than at the beginning of the war, not to forget to talk about Ukraine, that Ukraine will remain on the agenda.
Also, I had a lot of questions from foreign journalists just because of lack of this Ukraine in the international media. They are asking me, like, what's people thinking now, what they feeling now, what's happening. And I will tell that a lot of Ukrainians are tired of war. First, it's those who are serving, those who are fighting. They are fighting for 2 years without any proper rest. And to give them rest, they need to mobilize like 500,000 people more. A lot of people are afraid to be mobilized. A lot of people just are tired because you can't, in this situation, you can't plan anything. For example, I know a guy who wanted to propose his girlfriend before war, and now he's like telling, okay, after war, but when will be the end?
Probably he just doesn't want to marry her anymore.
Yeah, or the other couple who wanted the kids, and now they're telling that, okay, we will have a baby, should we go to the shelter every time, every night, because we will be afraid for the baby? Should we go? And we Ukrainians postponed it, all our plans, all our life. We are just living on this pause, and you can't plan further than like months. You know, you don't know, should you buy a property or it will be destroyed. You just live in this constant fear. That's why a lot of Ukrainians, even those who are not fighting, they are tired of this war. It's obvious.
Yeah, I would say probably exhausted is the right word, like, because it's too hard for them to continue, because like tired of the war, this was the term Russia always like tried to use since the very first months. They were all the time saying that the West is tired, the aid to Ukraine will drop, and no one is paying attention anymore. And that was what they were telling from like since the very start. And well, that's we see the attention is from the public is getting lower, but on the other hand, we see the support is continue coming. So there more and more military aid is coming to Ukraine. Of course, it's not as fast and as much as we would like to and as we need critically, but still it's coming, and this is the sign, the good sign. This shows us that those countries who continue supporting and who invest in this their like own military capabilities, they understand why this is important to do. And I think that the communication with the public is what is also important to show why this is happening and why this support needs to continue coming, and so that it will help Ukraine to move faster with the war effort. You have been recently to the front lines. How do you feel the situation there? So you said that the soldiers are exhausted. They didn't have like a vacation or like rest for 2 years, very hard years. Just in the fields in a very difficult conditions. What is their morale? How do they feel now?
Yeah, the pretty common answer was like, yeah, we are tired, but we have no choice but to fight. So I will tell the morale is still high. The only problem is they need to have the feeling that the whole war or the whole country, I'm talking even about our country, are in this war, that they are helping, because it's really hard for soldiers who are fighting for 2 years watching some else guys of their age have parties or having rest or eating in restaurants, and to tell the truth, we have a lot of those things. Anyway, the morale is high, as I thought. The only thing, the other thing is that they are asking, every time they are asking, when they understand that they're like giving interview to the international media, they're asking more ammunition. For example, I was trying to set up filming with a few units. They said, I'm sorry, we can't take you just because we have no ammo. Like, and we don't want to show on this direction or this direction, like that's there's not enough of it. Yeah, we were filming one artillery system. We spent like few hours, and they didn't fire even once, because they're trying to save it, and they're trying to hit only a big, large targets like tanks. If they know there's like some group of saboteurs or something like that, of reconnaissance group. Anyway, they will not fire. They will not spend this shell for it. Yeah.
Is it so critical? So they really lack.
I mean, it depends. For example, of course, we still have some ammunition. We're still receiving it, but of course, we need more. For example, if the military commanders, they know that, for example, this front line is more quiet now, there's no signs of offensive on this direction, they will not provide a lot of ammunition there. You know, they will like keep providing it to Avdeeva, for example, direction, then I don't know, to other directions. Yeah, I believe that morale is high. The only thing they need rest. Like the human being cannot be in the trenches for 2 years. It's too much, and they will be served more. We don't know how many. There will be a new law, mobilization law. For now, we don't know if it will be 36 months or 48 months before you can demobilized. But we also understand that it's impossible to demobilize the whole army, and that's why we need any recruits. On this note, we'll say goodbye.
Thank you for watching and listening to us, and we do hope to make this podcast regular. If you are interested, please write us, because we really need your support. This is a unique project. I don't know if anyone is doing this in Ukraine, so please follow us, share,
subscribe,
and we welcome very much your feedback, because we want our podcast to be better for you, and we are here for you to explain you whatever you need to be explained.